with you. All right, Ron Nelson is with us this morning. One of the first things on Ron's list, Nelson Commercial Real Estate, was the Fed, what it did this week. It dropped. And the question I was asking is, we've heard that it has fluctuated, but you're saying 2008 was the last time that we had a cut.
Yeah, 11 years since we've had a rate adjustment, a rate reduction.
Right.
But, things have been pretty flat, with just the debacle of the economy in 2008, I'm not exactly sure that, I'm not an economist, but, we pay attention to this stuff, but certainly rates have been flat and just at historic lows. And it's funny, I've been doing this so long, you have too, that the rates that we talk about today, people, when rates are getting over 5%, commercial rates, or whatever, they're like grabbing their throats like they're killing us, and it's like, I think my first house, I locked in at 10%, 10.0%, and quick got out of the bank before they realized what they'd done. I felt like the cat that swallowed the canary. So perspective is an interesting thing, over the years, how our perspective changes and, what was, high a few years ago, or, very low, actually, the single digits, today we're just kind of used to, so they've been the last year or so, we've had, I want to say, 3 adjustments, very small, very minor, quarter point here or there. But, we're all watching this economy very closely, and everybody's saying, oh, we're at the end of the cycle and, all that. And we're, kind of waiting for doomsday. We got an election going on. So there's all kinds of interesting dynamics, going on out here.
We're going to talk job growth, but I want to turn it around just a little bit.
Yeah.
It was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that we heard on a Friday night, I think on KELO TV, that we had a trucking company that had shut down and that all of the drivers were out of work. So if we've got job growth, that means that somebody that was a truck driver could have another job.
Well, on a national scale, we had 156,000 jobs growth in the month of July. So, okay, that's interesting. A positive trend, not quite as robust as they'd hoped. And, actually they're seeing kind of the official commentary is job growth is healthy, but steadily slowing, and specifically in the area of small business. But, around here in Sioux Falls, you don't... I suppose some trucking companies might have been licking their chops when that happened, just for the opportunity to capture these people.
They know there are people there.
Yeah. I remember when, was it Capital One? I already forgetting, companies in town here, but, when that group on Benson Road closed, and I want to say, in the hundreds, several hundred jobs. And, it doesn't make the person that's lost their job feel better, at least at the moment, to say, oh, there's lots of jobs out there, and you'll do fine. But there is, on a global scale, if you're going to lose your job, what a great place to have that happen. And so certainly in Sioux Falls, we complain about our labor shortage, and all that. So we're not worried about job growth as much as, filling the plenty of jobs that are out there. And that is, continues to be our...
The media is constantly running job opportunities. I don't care if it's us or TV or print or online stuff. Workforce opportunities are there.
Well, and that's what there's a big summit, I think, co-sponsored by Forward Sioux Falls and all that. I didn't pay close attention to it. I probably won't attend, but, continuously for employers, in many cases, just coming up with strategies, in terms of what can you do to build your workforce? Where can you find it? But what can you do, in your own culture, in your own company culture to kind of cultivate that workforce, which, again, kind of ties to real estate, because honestly, there are companies that, we try to recruit to Sioux Falls that say, it's even funny. We're seeing people throw in unemployment numbers at us saying, yeah, we don't come to towns with employment less than 2.8%, or something like that, which that's an interesting criteria that's fairly recent, because we get all kinds of other things in terms of criteria thrown at us. But employment or unemployment rate, hasn't typically been one of them. So, yeah, we still are potentially, from a real estate standpoint, missing out on some opportunities at times when we can't fill the jobs.
He's Ron Nelson, Nelson Commercial Real Estate. How do people reach reach you?
On the web is our website, N-Commercial for short, or to find me and reach me directly, just add a Ron in front of that, ron@ncommercial.com.
Sioux Falls opportunities, we were touching on that. If you are an employer looking, it's far different than you're an employee that has to look.
Well, certainly we monitor the opportunities, in properties, in town. And as the economy gets kind of teetering, on question marks, you start looking at things. But, candidly, we're healthy. Our real estate market is healthy. Office space inventory is, maybe up in terms of vacancy a little higher than, optimal. Retail, certainly, we talk about, the big box vacancies and, the Amazon effect, and all that. But I was just joking with somebody this week. Actually, we just signed a lease yesterday on 41st Street thing we'll talk about in a couple of weeks or so. And also our former Pawn America has got some activity going there. We can talk about that. But we were just talking with this gentleman. He saw 14 signs on 41st Street. He's like, oh, my gosh, there's all kinds of property out there. And I said, yeah. But you throw some criteria at that. Say, I need something 3,000 to 3,500 square feet, and it's got to be, have this kind of entrance and this kind of entry and this kind of signage. Good luck. You might not find any, So in as much as there looks to be a lot of signs out there, you start, even in retail, you start recognizing that it's not as plentiful as you might think. Industrial, it's pretty tight out there. There are some investment opportunities, for those that just say, geez, I like this town. I'd like to, put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. There's some smaller apartment opportunities. You can get into some office buildings, some retail type properties for kind of some larger dollar type transactions. But my goodness, if you do have dollars to invest, talk to us as well, because we love plugging folks in, and certainly have been recipient of good things in my own situation as well as a lot of clients over the years, that you just put them in an ownership position and you just you sit and enjoy it, so to speak. And I'm not saying it's that easy, but my point is, you're in a good spot. Sioux Falls is a great place, and lots of people want to be here, and lots of people want to invest, and that's driven prices up. So sometimes that's a little frustrating, but prices rise when things are good, and things are good, and times are good here right now in Sioux Falls.
All right, we're into August, not far from fall. What are we going to have? We're going to talk about in the next 60 days.
Well, I think obviously as we start heading toward cold weather, we start heading for fall. Again, we've got this whole election thing coming up, and it's always interesting. It's always interesting to see what that does to markets, whether it be, real estate, but just more, markets as a whole, and, all the promises that are out there. So I think we're just kind of, people have been waiting for, the proverbial bottom to drop out for some time, that hopefully, you've got your fundamentals, in better line and things like that. But if not, there's still time, to do it. Like I said, our market's pretty healthy. So if you've got vacancy, just work hard, be creative. What you need to do to get it filled. Talk to your broker, talk to us, and say, ask the question, how come we haven't leased this space? How come we haven't sold this building? What can we do? So I still say and still advise that, tighten up those fundamentals if you don't have them all where you want them yet.
And how do they talk to you?
Again, Nelson Commercial Real Estate, or N-Commercial on the web, or ron@ncommercial.com.
I think Ron heard me talk about a guy chipped in 2 birdies back-to-back, kicked my butt last night. He said, Bill, when can we play? I can improve your game. Thanks, Ron. Sadie's next.